my name is Nathan, and today we're going to do a full comic book review of Star Wars Crimson Reign, issue numbers 1 through 5, the full story where Lady Qi'ra has an ambitious plan to take down Darth Vader and Palpatine, brought to you by Rated Comics. Before we get into the content, if you like the content we're throwing up, like the video, subscribe to this channel. It'll help Rated Comics to make more comic book reviews and comic book related content like this. Number 2, timestamps will be in description if you wish to go from issue to issue, and also link in description if you wish to add any of the comic books in this video to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. Last but not least, hey, let's get into the content. We begin this issue with a flashback of some sort. A holocron emits light as it forms into this lady. Whoever is speaking off panel to this holocron will answer your questions. When this lady forms using the light side of the force, she begins to say, this is a story of a woman named Qi'ra. Grew up in the sewers of Cordelia, she used her skill, cunning, and will to ride to great heights to rule a group called the Crimson Dawn. When she found them, they were liars and thieves led by a monster. They remained those things under her hand, but she gave them something the monster had not: a purpose, a grand ambition to change the galaxy for the better. Qi'ra planned, schemed, and prepared, and most importantly, she searched for those few people in the galaxy with skill, power, and will to help make this possible. I'm curious to see who is talking to this holocron off panel. Hope we find that out at the end of this issue. The people she brought together are the Knights of Ren, Chanath Cha and the Orphans, Destic, Margot, and Trina, Qi'ra's closest advisors. I remember them from War of the Bounty Hunters. The Archivists all standing before Lady Qi'ra on her ship, the Vermilion, as she gives her speech. Her speech is the true nature of the galaxy is that it is a prison and we are all prisoners. The reason is one word: the Sith. She learned about the Sith from the one who ruled Crimson Dawn before her, Maul. He used to be the Sith's apprentice. He learned their mysteries, their power, and their eternal ambition. Then the brother died in a galaxy not so far away, and he was reborn. When he was no longer useful, he was discarded. The Sith take and the Sith throw away. Qi'ra explains that the power structure of the galaxy should be like this mountain on the hologram. People are free to climb as high as they can, but under the Sith, the galaxy is like a pyramid hologram. Everyone climbing, pushing others down to ascend. But at the peak, the top, the one truly free person is Emperor Palpatine. His Sith name, Darth Sidious. His apprentice, Darth Vader. The two of them combined are the most powerful people in the galaxy. They must die so the galaxy can live. Qi'ra is hitting on everything with her speech and giving examples of what the Sith took from each crew: pride, love, hope, identity, legacy, and they're all gravitating to one another. They don't trust each other, and she acknowledges that. You guys shouldn't trust me, but we have a common goal and we want the same thing. That means we can work together. Maul had a plan to destroy the Sidious, but he was killed. Lady Qi'ra vows to not make the same mistake. She won't be doing this alone because, let's be honest, how can you defeat the Sith alone? She closes the speech with, we all can get what we want. All we got to do is do our jobs, play our part, and we will achieve something extraordinary. Freedom. Lady Qi'ra takes up a meeting with Lord Gyudu, or Gyoti. If I'm butchering that name, comment below. I apologize, guys. I'm a casual Star Wars fan, but this story interests me. He's the leader of the Black Sun Syndicate. After some back and forth to establish anticipation, really good dialogue by the way, she offers the Black Sun a piece of valuable information as a courtesy. Referencing War of the Bounty Hunters, you can watch the full review at the end of the video. I'll put the playlist at the end. The Hutts attacked the Imperial flagship and she asked if he saw that. He's like, of course I did. And as punishment, Darth Vader executed the entire Hutt council as punishment. Like a Star Wars infomercial, she's like, but wait, there's more. Palpatine was furious at the Hutt's betrayal. For years, the Hutts had enjoyed a special relationship with the Empire and a protected status. The Empire is reconsidering and looking for a new partner, but it won't be the Crimson Dawn. Lady Qi'ra continues to say, we have no interest in a direct partnership with the Empire, and we want to stay small. But if there was ever a time to make a play for an organization with a larger footprint, it will be quite the opportunity. Meanwhile, Lord Gyoti may be taking the bait. Lady Qi'ra and others are going around the galaxy and telling these Imperial laws the same thing just to strike up some kind of anarchy here. And Qi'ra ends with for him to pass the info to Prince Sahur with compliments from Crimson Dawn and to remember them when the credits start rolling in. So this is starting to become some kind of anarchy show, and I'm all for it. Now above in the Ciroto, the orphans are on a mission of themselves per Lady Qi'ra. Their mission is to go to the Smash Processing Lab and they are to leave no witnesses. They're just out to cause an all-out war. Now there's a conversation there why they're called the orphans, and Chaneth tells her the answer. I watched Darth Vader kill my parents right in front of me. I swear to him the oath that I will not take revenge. I said those words because my parents wanted me to live, but my heart died with the moment I watched Vader cut them open. The way I figure it, oaths end when you do, and my heart died and I've been hunting Vader ever since. So we're gonna do this mission, and what I couldn't do alone, maybe I could do with Lady Qi'ra. So we'll see. So now we get to know the deeper motivation why she wants to take on this mission. So they got a job to do. They land and they just start out an all-out war. Boom, boom, laser blast. They're just causing havoc. Leave no witnesses. You're not gonna know who did this to us. Laser shots ricochet off of her, and they're just going to work on this Imperial law. And they're doing as Lady Qi'ra says, no witnesses. And meanwhile, we got an intercom from this brother outside looking, you know, making sure nothing comes in. There's no witnesses. Hey, yo, Chaneth, we got a couple of Black Sun birdies trying to leave the nest. They're gonna accelerate into hyperspace soon. I can't get both of them. I don't have enough time, and I'll be out of range. He takes one down, mission accomplished. And inside that transport, they're like, dude, they just destroyed the other transport. What are we waiting for? Let's light speed out of here. But they can't because they're not far enough from the planet to enter into hyperspace. That will kill them. Before they could get any further, boom! Another orphans caught him in time and took him out. Now, it did not take long for the Black Sun to notice the loss of their hidden facility. They're just like, who did it? Who dare claim responsibility on this? The thing is, there's no witnesses. Even on the popped up shadow feeds, there's no source claiming the responsibility. And because none of the syndicates wanted to claim this, they know they would eradicate them. No one claims it. What is he to do? Well, we'll have to hit all of them. So this causes a shitstorm of just battles, demolishing, and just the orphans doing their thing, other people in the clan doing their thing, the Hutts getting annihilated. It's just an epic, beautiful mess of a galaxy that's not so far away. It was this disorder in the galaxy ruled by one value, order. Palpatine valued order, and above all else, he would take extreme measures to preserve it. So it catches his attention, and that's what Qi'ra wanted. He was displeased. He took action. He informed Lord Vader that he is required. But the Syndicate War was far from the only plans Qi'ra had set in motion. The Knights of Ren also had a play. So they go to the transport night bus, they do their thing, they go into a fight, they go into a battle, all to retrieve plans of Vader's fortress. They don't know how they're gonna get into it, but they see that this plan is starting to come together, and maybe perhaps Qi'ra and them can pull it off. They can take out Vader and Palpatine the Sith. We see this lady who was part of the holocron. Qi'ra did give her a specific task that will increase their chances of success. We're not the Sith's only enemy. Another group that fought them centuries before, defeating them more than once. A few had survived. If anything could be found, they could serve as powerful allies. If they don't want to take the tone or take the task, they can serve as bait. And we see Master Yoda. And so in other words, she's trying to recruit Jedi either as allies or as baits to help increase their chances. So Qi'ra starts putting all this together. The assassins are next. Reach out to Leia. Organize this feat where everything's coming together. The Hutts are longtime players. They're not doing it. So Lady Qi'ra lied to them, but that's okay. It's all to set the plan in motion. And by that time, things will be rioted out by that time, and too much, the mess will be too far into it. The rebels will be a part of this too, whether they want to or not, or even they realize it. Qi'ra planned as well as anyone could. She thought she could achieve extraordinary things. As an astonishing woman in thousands of ways. This is the story. I would thought this was a story of how they took down the Sith, but no, this is a story of the fall of the Crimson Dawn. Lady Qi'ra thought this plan could work, but this story is a tragedy, and I would think her ultimate demise. But in this 5-issue series, I am curious to see how this is going to play out. I thought this was a fantastic introduction, and it contains an incredible amount of context and setting the stage for just one issue. It deals with the tons of different people and factions who are involved. Yet the writer keeps things focused, clear, and the story cohesive. And in terms of storytelling technique, I love it. The archivist narrating the story from the beginning is very matter of fact and definitely hints at how did Lady Qi'ra die? And it's a unique plot device to use in a story like this. It works really well. Since it's obvious Qi'ra and her crew isn't going to defeat the Sith or anything like that, I think the story leading into that and omitting it from the very first issue doesn't take away from the intrigue, but rather adds to it, and I'm curious to see how this issue unfolds. With that being said, Now, before we begin this review, if this is your first time here, I'd like you to subscribe and like the video. It'll help Rated Comics to make more comic book reviews and comic book related content like this. With that being said, let's get to it. We begin with this foreshadowing of this figure in the future that talks about Lady Qi'ra uses every tool and technique at her disposal in her grand shadow war against the reign of the Sith. Deception primarily. Everything she has ever said was a story designed to elicit the reaction she desired. She lied to everyone, even herself. But sometimes deception would not do. Sometimes she needed the truth. No one can deny the truth that waits for us all. Death. So now we begin aboard the Vermilion with this assassin, Destic. Ochi comes out and tells Destic, hey, Qi'ra said you can come in now, Destic. Who do you think she'll have you kill? My target is none of your business, Ochi, unless, of course, your target is me and my target is you. So, whoa, hold up, Spooky. You don't scare me, Destic. Nothing does. Not since I saw the, like, crazy bastard. Let me get on with my meeting. This brother's my competition. What the hell is this all about? Aboard meeting Lady Qi'ra just gets straight to the point. Look, you ain't the chatty top. I'm just going to get straight to it. You are aware that the syndicates have gone toward Black Sun, the Pikes, all the galaxy's great criminal organizations. And that's Margot talking, not Lady Qi'ra. My apologies. War is a scream, and Crimson Dawn is a well-placed whisper. In any case, the Syndicate War is an opportunity. It opens a door for us. So they hand Destic a data card which holds all the information she needs for her next target. And what that target is, her name is Cadelia. She's the heir to not one, but 2 syndicates. She has taken refuge with a small group of Rebel Alliance fighters and hiding from the Imperials. I just need you to bring her back and take her on board. And Destic's like, what? You don't want me to kill her? Is there a problem? No problem. As long as you pay me, I'll do the job. So Qi'ra's advisors are like, dude, I know assassins have their place, but they creep us out. Well, look, it's all how you dress up the story. That's how you get to do what you want. I've worked with many killers in my time, and there are 3 basic reasons people take the lives of others. Faith. Some people kill for faith in the greater service of power. Your soldiers, your idealists, your fanatics, the Jedis. And some people believe they have to kill for hope because most who kill for money fit here. They fit in that increased hope. In this case, bounty hunters like Boba Fett. And finally, there's some that just simply kill for the sake of enjoyment, like Darth Vader and the Sith. But both Ochi and Destic are unique. Their past brought them to killing in particular ways. Knowing their motivations allows me to properly motivate them. Make sure they do what I want. For instance, and we get a backstory of Ochi. Ochi kills because he is afraid. Everything he kills is something that could no longer kill him. It's why in the past, Ochi has worked for Emperor Palpatine. It makes sense in a way. If you're afraid of a monster, make yourself useful to the biggest monster of all. Maybe he'll keep you safe. But deep down, Ochi knows it's just a matter of time before that monster turns on you. So when I gave him a way to pass along some of the fear he feels for once, let the monster know what it felt like to be afraid. Well, that's why Ochi took the job. And Destic, she took the job because she's so guarded and so cold, but Destic's entire lineage was wiped out during the Clone Wars. She and her mother were the 2 of the few who escaped. Almost since birth, she has carried the weight of that knowledge that she was once part of something larger than herself and it was taken away. Destic kills because she feels completely and utterly alone. And on some level, she wants other people to feel the same way too. It's the myth of pain that sharing it somehow lessens it. In any case, Qi'ra says I gained Destic's loyalty with the story, and the promises in the story in the case was to fulfill the truth. Emperor Palpatine was behind the death of her people, and he gave the order. And the promise, if she helped me, she would watch him fall. Damn, Lady Qi'ra, you're savage in this, and this could definitely backfire. But you know what? You got to do what you want to do. So in other words, Destic will do anything she asks of her, anything. Even though she's an assassin, now you just want to grab and snatch or bring this girl Cadelia back to the Vermilion? Okay, let's do this, girl. Meanwhile, in the Coruscant, Ochi meets with this dealer, and he's like, what do you want? I need poisons, you need this? He's like, I need a slarb. That's why I came here. What kind of stuff you need? Well, I need to do a very particular job, and it has to be kind of theatrical. Well, bro, I got stuff to make people's eyes explode. It doesn't get any more theatrical than that. Nah, bro, I need something with precise timing. To the second, to the T, something synthetic. And this dealer's like, oh, I got you covered, but you know what? I got this option, I got that option. There's just some names I can't even say, but it's not cheap. He's like, man, I'll take it all. It's going on Qi'ra's tab. So meanwhile, in the Outer Rim Peninsula, there's a small of Rebel Alliance fighters meeting up. And this girl is savage. So she calls like this hotline to the Imperial Anti-Terrorism Watch line. And she calls to them like, I found a rebel base with lots of ships I'll send the cords. You need to get here and take care of these rebel scum. So what she's gonna do is cause a distraction to get Cordelia. And meanwhile, in the work district, Ochi is there mixing up this chemical, and he is waiting for these Emperor soldiers to have breakfast so he can poison them all at the perfect timing. So when he does blast off his weapon at the exact timing so he can time the release of the poison, it goes through the brother's neck. And meanwhile, the anti-terrorism Emperor hotline comes through the Empire, and they go to work on here, and they have to leave Cordelia to go to the ship to escape because they're not, you can't fight ships, girl. You know you can fight people, but you can't fight ships. So go hide, let us deal with this. So with that distraction, Deathstick comes in, and she just takes Cordelia back with her. Distraction, mission accomplished. Meanwhile, Ochi shoots brother in the neck, and hey, mission accomplished too. Now they're all meeting at the Palpatine's quarters, and this brother tells Palpatine that the war between the syndicates show no signs of slowing down Emperor Palpatine. I am not sure how it got started, but a rumor persists that the great criminal organizations are vying for your favor. And Palpatine's like, I see what we'll use the fleet to quell their exuberance. Inform Admiral Pyatt and General Veers, we will, and before he can even execute the order, the poison timing kicks in, and they all collapse, and they're dead in front of Emperor Palpatine, and he is freaking pissed. Look at him. Meanwhile, aboard the Vermilion, Deathstick delivers Lady Qi'ra her request. And Deathstick asks Lady Qi'ra, what are you going to do with her? What are you going to do with Cordelia? Thank you, Deathstick, but your job was to deliver your girl. Her fate belongs to me. And once again, Lady Death goes into this deception. Don't worry, Cordelia. My name is Qi'ra, and guess what? We're going to be good friends. Are you really going to be good friends? I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to leverage her to further satisfy your plans to bring down the Sith and Darth Vader, which I am loving this book so far. I mean, a lot of exposition here, but I love how a plan comes together. Even though this book is about the fall of Lady Qi'ra, this is shaping up to be an awesome series in my personal opinion. I am just a casual Star Wars fan, but after reading War of the Bounty Hunters and wanting to get into this, I am not regretting my decision at all to review this and read this. It's a fun read. Link in description, by the way, if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. With that being said, to it. Now we begin this issue with the Archivist. We get a backstory of the Archivist in this issue, and before she became the woman we know as the Archivist, she had a very different life. She said that working with the dark side corrupts one's physical form, but for her it was something more simpler. In her old days, she was happy. She was a credentialed Sava, a title, a scholar, a teacher at the University of the Barleth. And she had access to great minds, so collecting theories, collecting all these publications that were revolutionary, all these artifacts, because the subject she chose to devote her life to was the Force. But after Order 66, you can see a complete transformation. She went from living in the Star Wars penthouse in the galaxy far, far away to barely getting by. And what she's doing, she's selling junk. And these stormtroopers are like, you know, they're shaking her down because they think she's selling like illegal contraband or something like that. And she studied the Force and she studied the Jedi. But Order 66 killed the Jedi. So studying the Force was how she was making her living. So I believe that's why they're shaking her down, because she used to study the Force of the Jedi. But she said she gravitated more towards the dark side for educational purposes, I suppose you could say. So they give it a good tossing. They shake her down. And she's pissed. Like, this is outrageous, man. I'm going to file a report with the Imperial Governor. I might not be what I was back then, but I still have friends out there, powerful friends. You can't treat me this way. So they said they found something. We're like, what do you know? What's all this junk? Looks like illegal contraband, and I don't know what it is, but they claim it's forbidden under the Order 66 Council. And she's like, it's nothing. It's just for sentimental reasons. I just kept it because it makes me happy. So they're going to report it. She's begging them not to. And then these stormtroopers get blasted off. And who do we know is blasting them off? That artifact falls down and cracks to her surprise, and that's to her devastation. But speaking of devastation, stunning, it's Lady Qi'ra. That subtlety is not her name at all. So she introduces herself and she tells Saba that it's been a pleasure to meet you. It's extraordinary pleasure to meet you, and tells her, I know your work well. So Lady Qi'ra just has a way with words to get herself in and to fulfill her agenda. She's like, you're a fan of my work, but you just killed 3 Imperial soldiers. She's like, I have no fear of the Empire, but if you work for me, you'll have nothing to fear from them either. So she's like, work for you? I mean, doing what? Who are you? And Qi'ra's like, I'll answer those questions, but I'm hoping you might answer this one first. No matter how this conversation goes, It's just an honor to be in your presence. The archivist, before she was an archivist, Saba, she's like, okay, well, what are you? Like, what's it all about? And Qi'ra's like, okay, so let me ask you, why are you forbidden to study the Force? Why does no one talk about it, at least publicly? That's my question. Why has the Force disappeared from the galaxy? Riddle me this. And she's like, I spent a lot of time considering that in the past. What happened to the Jedi is what happened to me. It's not as complicated as you think. So we go into this monologue of how it all went down. The Jedi Order was strong, deeply seated into the galaxy's consciousness. They had a great temple in the heart of Coruscant, worked closely with the Republic and its chancellors for centuries. People made holodramas about them, wrote the stories, and the Jedis were celebrities, and rightly so. But I believe for the most part, people who thought about it all, the light side represented the way they want to act and the way they should be. The dark side was more closely connected to how they actually were. In a single generation, and indeed the concept of wielding the Force itself, it disappeared from the collective consciousness of the galaxy. Why? Why did it disappear? Is fear, the most potent weapon in the arsenal of the great galactic empire. Emperor Palpatine rose to power because he made people afraid. He made people fear the Jedi. He called them traitors. He said they used their mystical powers to subvert democracy and peace to cause wars. It worked because as much as people love the Jedis, they also hated on them on some level. Why? Because it is hard to look at people who have become their best selves. It reminds you that you have not become your best selves. And that's something people just can't muster. You know, there's a lot of facts and truth with that right there. The Jedi Order was an enemy of the Empire and needed to be purged, not just from reality, but from thought and from memory. If you want a galaxy of people to stop talking about something, which means their children will know nothing of that, you make it treasonous to be a Jedi, to help a Jedi, to use the Force, to study the Force, to even be made aware of the Force. Some will be willing to die for their beliefs in an effort to bring back the light to expose the truth. So you kill them first. But keep in mind, even though they limited the Jedis, Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader also use the Force too. So Lady Qi'ra's taking all this information in. I see, but there is a piece you are missing. You said that the Empire was responsible for the erase of the Jedi and the Force, but who is the Empire truly? It is the one-man Emperor Chief Palpatine. Well, she's like, yeah, I suppose. Hardly Palpatine has another name, his true name. He is the Sith Lord, Darth Sidious, and she is stunned to hear about this. Sava is stunned, and she doesn't even know why she didn't see this before. That's Lady Qi'ra's motivation to bring her in to do Lady Qi'ra's agenda. So this explains so much. How does she miss all this? I call myself an expert in the dark side, and I missed that a Sith Lord right under my nose? And Qi'ra's like, look, it's okay. If it's any consolation, so did the Jedi. They were even closer to him. The Sith are supposed to haunt the shadows. You do not see the one in plain sight. And she's like, how does it mean? How was this taken from me? How did I miss this? Qi'ra's like, come with me, Saba, and then I would like to make you an offer. And Lady Qi'ra shows her all these artifacts from extending technology artifacts of the Sith, which just appeals to her appetite. So Lady Qi'ra is like, okay, look, this is my plan. I want to end the Sith stranglehold on this galaxy. I want to set everyone free. To succeed, I need to understand the dark side. It's the strengths and weaknesses I need to understand. I need an expert. I want it to be you. And she's like, look, I'm no longer that person. No, Sava, you still are. Join me and you will have access to all these artifacts and more. When we succeed, you can study anything you want. Nothing will be forbidden. I want to give you your life back. At first, going back and forth, she's hesitant to do it. And she's like, well, Sava, if you don't do this, we're all dead. Don't you want to live? And she's like, oh my gosh, you're making a compelling case over here. She's right, you know? So what's the task? What do you want me to do? She believed that Jedi survived Palpatine's purge, and the particular Jedi is Yoda. Why do you believe Yoda is still alive? Because the Empire never announced his death. They made a great show of all these lightsabers being burned at ceremony, but they never claimed he was dead. Only reason for that is because they might have afraid he might be coming back someday. With your particular expertise, gives you a good hope of finding where he might have gone. Find Yoda for me and I will ensure you could do anything you want, study anything you like forever. So of course she agreed. How could she not? But Qi'ra's task was not simple. She asked me to find Yoda, but gave me no suggestions, no trail, no leads. What's one to do to find Yoda? She used research. First, she began knowing what was last known in hopes it would send her on a path toward what was unknown. The last acknowledged appearance of Yoda was the Battle of Kashyyyk. If I'm saying it right, comment below if I'm saying it correctly. But that was not the last place he was seen. She learned quickly that Qi'ra's influence ran wide and deep. whatever request she made, she was granted access to Imperial databases, Old Republic records, anything she could ever wanted. And in some of the reports surrounding the Dark Knight, when the Republic died, the Galactic Empire was born. And during her research, she concluded these 4 things. 1, Yoda did survive the Purge. 2, he was present on the Coruscant on the last night but escaped Darth Sidious, fleeing to some other hiding place. 3, Yoda was one of the most recognizable people in the galaxy. He could not simply buy a ticket off-world without somebody noticing. And 4, therefore he had help. Someone powerful enough to slip through Palpatine's net, someone with an entire private starship at their disposal. So during further research, she discovered Yoda was aboard the Tantive number 3 when it landed on Naboo. She was certain about it. That all happened over 20 years ago. But someone who was on that ship during that time from the journey had to still be alive, so she kept going through all the databases. She scanned all the flight records until she went blind. But luckily, fortunately for her, she found someone. So she goes on to the jail Imperial detention facility and interrogates him. And his brother tells her, look, can you please tell Lady Qi'ra I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I'm helping you at as a mutual friend request. Pass it along to her that I assist you with everything required. She's like, yes, I will. So she goes in and she asks Jeremy Colton some questions. So at first the conversation is just small talk, but she quickly gets into the point. There's a lot of exposition in this comic book, which is okay. It just keeps the story compelling and I'm having fun reading this along. So she tells him, I'm more interested in the time before you got here. You were a pilot for Organa family first, for Bail, and then for his daughter Leia, the Imperious, all that. And he's like, okay, good. So you can read a prisoner transcript. Good for you. I read a lot of data files, Jermuck. What I also know is you flew a ship called the Tantive number 3 when it helped Jedi Master Yoda escape Palpatine's purge. I need to know where you took. He's like, oh no, I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, I see. Well, this device is a thought dowser. It was created by ancient society known as the Ascendant. They try to replicate the powers of the dark side of the Force through technology, but it mostly failed. But this works. This works very well. And if you try to resist its mind control, it's going to become more painful and it's going to become more brutal. So tell me where you took Yoda and this stops. This pain stops. He resists. He doesn't know. But eventually he tells her, and he tells her it's the sluice sector or the sluice sector. She's like, sluice sector, huh? Okay, I'm done. I'm out. So what is the sluice sector all about? The sluice sector was all but empty. A few settled worlds, but none seemed like a good candidate to hide a Jedi Master. But then again, research and an academic paperwork didn't give in her field. So as she said, she could not use the Force, but she could sense it. So even though she was paying so much attention how the Force touched all living things, she missed the actual living things on this planet. She was taken by one of the Dagobah's native beasts, and before it looks like he's about to strangle her, squeeze her, and devour her, he lets her go. Surprisingly so. Gazing upon this cave, inviting her in by force. And what she saw in this place was for her alone. So even though she could sense the Force, she can never wield it. But what she encountered in that cave helped her understand a great many things about the Force, about herself. Then she goes from young Sava to, whoa, looking more like the archivist she is today. I don't know if it's a transformation of what she was learning in there, or how long the time duration was in there, or just how the cave transformed her. At that moment, she became one of the few people who know one of the galaxy's most valuable secrets, Yoda's location. Yoda's location, that could give her life back, whether she gave it to Qi'ra or Palpatine. She could be rich, she could be powerful. I could be a scholar at the best university in the galaxy, and she could run it. And we see Yoda in the shadows, but Yoda had to know all that. He could have killed her, or let that planet kill her, or let that Dagobah beast kill her, but he chose to teach her. She studied the Force for her entire adult life, and she focused on the dark side because it spoke to her. She thought it was more realistic, it was more clearly, but the dark side was more reflective of who we are, our motivations, our decisions, the way we actually act, choices made from selfishness, from attachment, from fear. The light side shows us who we could be. And she's like, okay, this is interesting. So she tells Qi'ra that Yoda is dead, and Kira's like, are you certain? She's like, I am. I don't know if Qi'ra believes her, wants to call her bluff, but clearly it shows that she trusts her. So she's like, okay, we'll do it ourselves. And it's understandable why she wants a Jedi on her team to take down the Sith and Palpatine and Darth Vader. You just have to have a Jedi because you want to understand that it gives you an advantage as well. She made her decision, and for the first time in a very long time, she was happy. And that is where we end this issue. So to me, Star Wars has always been tied to real life politics. I'm just an average Star Wars fan, but In my opinion, Star Wars ties a lot with real life politics. And fear is a big way politicians have molded much of the United States and what goes on in the media today. So what did she learn from Yoda? We don't know, but it's a very interesting angle. It's a very interesting story on tying in to the Crimson Dawn and the Crimson Reign in this issue. So whatever Master Yoda taught her, he could have ended her on that planet, but clearly he saw something, she saw something. And how does this finish off towards the end? I'm very curious to see how this wraps it all up in the final issue. But for you guys that are Star Wars fans and know the angles on this, what do you guys think? Comment below, let me know. We begin this issue on Varnak. The archivist tells the story of how Qi'ra came across Ren with the Knights of Ren at a galactic bar not so far away. And I could definitely go for a bar right now. Qi'ra tells him, I heard you're powerful, and he takes off his mask thinking it's a come on. She puts her hand to her face like, oh my, you're just so wrong. Moment that sets the tone on what she's here for and what she's not here for. Ren is impressed enough to give her a fair listen to her proposal. Despite being dangerous to say this, Lady Qi'ra tells Ren that she knows that he leads the Knights of Ren. When asked how does she know this, she points to the archivist. Archivist is like, hey, yeah, it was me. Hope you don't mind. Qi'ra goes into her pitch by telling Ren that she knows what they want, and they want to live in a galaxy where they don't have to hide on the backwater planets, always on the run and living off of scraps, flying around on that ugly ship, stealing and killing to live. Ren tells her like, hey, you know what? They like that ship, and they like stealing and killing too. She goes more into wheeling Ren in. Do you wonder when you'll wake up with the red lightsaber through your chest? Ren responds with not likely showing his red saber as well. Kind of like, I wish a mofo would try me. Qi'ra is unfazed by that and tells him that it's not entirely true. She could give him everything he wants, glory, safety from the Sith, and Ren can carve out a kingdom for his own. She doesn't care how he runs it. She needs Force users, and Ren is the best she can access. Ren is listening and waits for what the job is. Inside the Oubliette transport, the Knights of Ren are aboard to carry out the mission. That mission is to invade Fortress Vader and steal something from Darth Vader's castle. Let's just say they are not excited to do this job. The castle is hell, basically. Also, they stayed away from the Sith, and the Sith has stayed away from them. They believe that is the understanding. Not to mention, it's Darth freaking Vader's castle. Ren rebuttals that there is no understanding. The Emperor's been dealing with other problems like the Jedi, Night Sisters, and we're small fish in comparison. Palpatine will get to the Ren eventually, and the choices are to keep running or strike first. Working with Qi'ra gives them the best chance. She's got a plan, resources, and a full layout of the fortress, Vader, and a rundown of its security. The Knights of Ren mention the obvious. What about Vader? He's not going to be welcoming when we rob his house, right? Nothing to worry about, says Ren. One of Qi'ra's Imperial contacts passed along info that Vader is busy investigating the murder of Palpatine's royal guards. See issue number 2 for that if you haven't. With Vader not being there, Ren figures he won't know that it was the Knights of Ren who did the heist, and they can take whatever they want. All Lady Qi'ra wants is for them to steal a key. What does it open, they ask. Qi'ra wouldn't say, but she knows where the lock is, and Palpatine and Vader don't. Would they really not know? But then again, okay, all right, we're just going to go on with the story. The plan is to bring the key to Lady Qi'ra, and the Knights of Ren can do and take what they want after that. When they arrive on Mustafar, Ren points out that there is an Imperial garrison on the far side, but it's filled with sensors. So they will put jammers on the bikes as to not be detected. Miranda asks Ren what if he's wrong. Then a hell of a lot of stormtroopers are going to die then. Mount up, let's do this. They ride. They arrive to an old entrance, whatever was there before Vader built his castle. One of them asks, why isn't it guarded? It's because the lava's the guard. They can get past it, but they need to work together with the Force. They all use the Force together after a tough, combined effort on all their parts. It parts ways, and there's the door. Once inside, Ren notices the shadow is strong. This explains why Vader didn't pick this spot by accident. He wanted this spot. Basra notices a helmet on the floor. It's Darth Momin, the creator of the castle. When the eyes of the helmet begin to glow, Basra wastes no time to shoot first and ask questions later. Ren tells Basra it's a Sith castle. Dead things are going to be around. Worry about the stuff that's still alive. On their way to the vault, the Knights of Ren walk through a large supply of Bacta. I love how one of them shows disrespect by spitting in the Bacta like, remember who did this. As they step inside, Vina welcomes them like, hey, I would advise you to leave, but it's too far for that. I have seen and marked you. My master will learn of your visit. So Ren's like, I'm not so sure about that. How are you gonna tell Vader about this? With your dead! Blast off! They blast off, and then Vina's like, you fools! My master is very protective of his possessions, which I am one. I am not in danger. He hits a switch, and all these stormtroopers come in, and one of the Knights of Ren is like, so much they'll never know that we were here, huh, Ren? Ren's like, ah! Blood is always sort of the plan. Light them up, and they lightsaber battle through these dark lava stormtroopers. Ren notices Vader's vault, and he gets through that with his lightsaber. Hurry up! We're murdering these guys pretty well so far, but there's a lot of them. Ren gets in the vault. He's like, oh my gosh, dude, give me a minute, but this is a big vault. I don't know how I'm gonna find the key that I'm looking for, but he uses a shadow to tell him where the key is as he listens for the key's screams. Boom! The key gets revealed. He grasps the keys. All of a sudden, the shooting stops. Ren's like, is everyone dead out there? Why did you guys stop shooting? Not sure, but they all left. And Vader's like, their services are no longer required. And you are here uninvited. And he uses the Force to crumble one of the Knights of Ren. You will pay the price, says Vader. And Ren's like, run! Get out of here! A lightsaber battle ensues between Ren and Vader, and this is epic. Vader uses his words to try to bring him down. You don't deserve a red lightsaber. Really? I took that from the one who held it before me. An old name, a name of power, Ren. And Darth Vader's like, you and your rabble are the Knights of Ren? Pathetic. You guys have fallen really far. How far you have fallen, but there's still yet further to fall. And he hits Ren's midsection with the lightsaber, and Ren's like, you know what, fallen, that's a pretty good idea. So he goes back, falls down, uses the Force to control his fall, does a superhero landing, courtesy of Deadpool, that's what it is, a superhero landing, and he calls out Vader, you lose, chump. And they're like, boss, are you sure that's a good idea? I mean, what's he gonna do, right? Well, he uses the Force to get back that key. He's like, mine. And Red's like, what are y'all just doing here watching? Shoot him. So they shoot. And Vader has to use the Force to deflect the bullets, to deflect the blast. And by doing so, he lets go of the key. And Ren uses the Force to get the key back as a dip off. Miranda tells Ren, wherever we were on the Emperor's target list before, we just moved up a few spots. Ren's like, just ride. That's all we're gonna do is just ride. And that's where we end this issue. Another great issue, and I love the banter with the Knights of Ren, which is something we really should have seen and gotten more of. I hope these guys get a comic book issue of their own, but this is a gangster issue. This is a gangster story. I was intrigued, and I just love the heist aspect of it. And also, they're kind of ragtag misfits. You get that vibe with that too. And I hope these guys and Knights of Ren get a comic book spin-off on the strength of this issue. I will definitely be in on that. Link in the description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. With that being said, we begin this issue in the Coruscant, the Imperial Palace. Palpatine is talking to Lord Vader, talking about, there's something clear going on here. Considering the most recent events of what's been going on in the previous issues 1, 2, 3, and 4, it is clear that we have an enemy. And Lord Vader's like, man, we have many enemies, Master. No, like, given what happened with the Hutt Council, given what happened to Commander Zara's Hunter Fleet and her failure to eradicate the Rebel Alliance, I believe that's a callback to issue number 1, and the issue with the Screaming Key that was stolen from your fortress on Mustafar, your own stronghold by the Knights of Ren, weaklings who can barely use the dark side, and yet somehow they were brazen enough to attack you directly. It's no coincidence we're being attacked head on and someone's behind it. So Sith Palpatine calls in Director Barsha. Director Barsha comes in, humbly tells his speech that, hey, given what's been going on, this was been having my division, given my intel and security, the rumor persists at the leadership level that you guys are displeased with after the Hutts are attacked, and all this that's going on with Jabba the Hutt and everything, my source tells me the rumor or the reasons for the syndicates being at war is because of the Crimson Dawn. And they know Lady Qi'ra is behind it. So meanwhile in the Vermilion, Margot tells Qi'ra that, hey, our contacts within the Imperial Security Bureau are telling me that they're putting all this together, the Sith is putting all this together. If they don't know already who caused all the attacks, they will. So Kira's like, okay, we got to prepare preparations for the next phase and inform Trinity and move the people to a various staging points. So they move on. Qi'ra tells Margot it'll all be worth it, I promise. And Margot's like, it's already been worth it. I'll do it all over again. So they give each other a hug and they continue on with their plan. So Qi'ra goes to Archivist like, hey, do you know what you need to do? Everything depends on you. Are you ready? And Archivist is like, hey man, I'm as ready as I'm gonna get. So find the truth. Here's the key. I'll send the Knights of Ren with you. They can handle anything you might run into. Things are going to happen very quickly now in Cordelia. So all this is going to go down. Archivist, go do your thing. And it's not clear what the plan is until later in the panel. But Qi'ra talks to Cordelia, and she tells Cordelia, I think you and I might not know each other, so we're going to get a chance to know each other about you and about me. And Qi'ra is going to go into that. So now that Lord Vader is informed that Crimson Dawn orchestrated the Syndicate War and the other attacks, he wants to make sure that Sith Palpatine is aware of this. Like, not aware, but is he certain of this? And he's like, yes. And Sith Palpatine reminds Darth Vader, you met Qi'ra when you at that ship in Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunter, I believe it was issue 3 or 4, when Lady Qi'ra was offering Han Solo to the highest bidder. He's like, yes, I remember that. And Sith is like, of course, that's your failure. Her name, what's her name? So Lord Vader, once he knows that it's Lady Qi'ra, he goes into a little monologue of, hey, she's a foolish woman that challenged me to a duel to prevent me from taking Solo. We fought. Her skill was not really a true threat, but notable that she was trained by the Terakasi. And Palpatine is like, she studied techniques used to fight the Force wielders. Few in this time are aware of the Terakasi's existence, much less able to use it. Yes, and that is not all. She had training beyond the Terakasi's, tactics and techniques echoing those I have not seen. And another says Darth Vader. And then Palpatine's like, based on her fighting style, is it does it remind you of one of the Jedis you destroyed during the Purge? And Lord Vader's like, no, it's not, it doesn't remind me of that. Her fighting style reminds me of yours. And Palpatine's like, yo, you making an accusation? Nah, man, just an observation. And he's like, I didn't train that woman, but perhaps one of our own did. And they come to the conclusion it was Maul who trained her, which he does admit in issue number 1. So back to what the Archivists and the Knights of Ren are doing. They go to this place that's not being discovered thousands of years. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. I'm an average Star Wars fan, and I can tell you right now, I don't know what it is, but it is intriguing. And Archivist tells them, according to the accountants, the chambers need to be activated before we can lock in the Screaming Key. And they're like, we don't want to activate that. I mean, do we even want to wake these things up? And Ren is like, look, you couldn't have said it better myself, but if this is for Qi'ra's cause and for the cause, we're down for the cause, so what do you need us to do? So she's like, well, it's unclear, but my best guess is for you to touch the Screaming Key with the dark side. I can sense the Force, but I can't use it. It has to be one of you. So Ren is like, okay, we picked it up, do a little shaky shake thing, and what's supposed to happen? Well, guess what? That little shaky shake thing with the key wakes up these things, and it's all out pandemonium. They don't know what to expect, but they know it is not good. So Qi'ra talks to Cordelia and tells her, you are heir to 2 syndicates, the Mourner's Well and the Unbroken. By themselves, they're both small, but together they form quite a bit of potential and quite formidable. And she's like, I know my story. What's your point? Kira's like, my point is that I too was born into this life. But while you grew up with the pedigree and inheritance, I did not. And we see a flashback of Lady Qi'ra, getting manhandled or woman-handled by Lady Proxima. She called them scum rats. Back on Cordelia, children taken by the gang doing the boss's bidding grew up in that world. Her crew was the White Worms. She started with nothing, but she had to be smarter and deadlier and faster and more seductive and more ruthless and colder than anyone else. And on the way up, the further she went, the more people she faced. And on those people, they were really as good as her. It never got easier. It only got harder. So did Qi'ra. The central principle to running a criminal syndicate is to trust no one. If you find yourself relying on someone's trust, you failed. Every interaction, Qi'ra goes into her mindset when she goes into these interactions with other Knights of Ren and the people to get her to do her bidding. She says, every interaction I have is a transaction. I give the other person something or threaten to take something away, then they do what I want. I don't want to hope people will do what I require. I need to ensure they have no choice. It sounds exhausting, says Cordelia, but you know what? What about Margot? You guys seem so close. She'll do anything for you. Well, we fought 3 different times. The first time she tried to kill me. She tried to take it as weakness on my part. The second time she tried to kill Qi'ra. She saw it as contempt. But the third time, Qi'ra realized and Margot realized the value that Margot brought, and she gave her that value. So that's why Margot does whatever she wants. So now an emergency transmission comes in, and they're all the same thing. Alerts have gone out across the entire fleet in the galaxy that the Crimson Dawn are high priority, and their time has just ran out, and all eyes are going to be on them. And guess what? Cordelia has to go with Trinia to keep her safe. But the Empire, what are you going to do, says Cordelia? The same thing I've always done, whatever I have to do. Apparently, Qi'ra has already planned for this. So as they make a run in this panel away from these monsters, they got to find something. And guess what? They're going to die here. One person already died because of the Archivist's death, and it's Basra. And the Knights of Ren like, her death is on you. I didn't want her to die, but you know what? I'm done taking these lives and sacrificing lives for Lady Qi'ra. So you got to do your thing and do it now. And Archivist's like, well, hold them off. This shouldn't take too long. Hold them off. Man, if you don't do this quick, I'm going to feed you to them to buy us some more time to get the hell up out of here. So she goes in and she's fascinated by what she sees inside. And when she sees what she sees inside, she uses the key to whatever socket or whatnot, and it is triggered at that point. What is it trigger? I still don't know at this point, but this is still interesting. Qi'ra makes a speech as she gets word from the Archivist that the key is in and it's all good. So she makes a speech to the other troops and she tells them Palpatine knows we're hunting him, so now he is hunting us. This day came sooner than she hoped, but it was inevitable. And because it was inevitable, she planned for it. And she has people all across the galaxy in the Empire, in every syndicate and significant corporation, and every major world rebel alliance. Chaos for the Empire, anywhere we can create. I just gave them the order, and we're going to create chaos all across. Destruction, disruption, poison down the gauntlet of Palpatine's machine. And while the Empire staggers, trying to set things right, we will prepare our master stroke, and all this will last in the end. Her empire is hidden, and she is ready to go all out, and this is where we end this issue of Star Wars Crimson Reign. I was expecting everything to be tied up and be some kind of conclusion here, but it's not. It's part of a trilogy of the Hidden Empire. And would I read the Hidden Empire? Yeah, I definitely would. I think I'll definitely check it out because this book left me wanting more. I was expecting more, that's why I want more. But I had a fun time reading it. As an average Star Wars fan, this was definitely enjoyable to me. Link in description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. With that being said, Star Wars Crimson Reign, issue number 5. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. And also, if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Don't be shy and don't be stingy. Here at Rated Comics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.